Hey, yo, it's me, Pops Van Marmalade, and you're watching the Comics-Related Madness Network. Uh-huh. So come get some. CromCon. CromCon.
Hey, we want to shout out to our sponsors, Daytona Beach Comic Con. If you are a fan of comic books, if you're a fan of comic book conventions, and if you like meeting comic book creators and getting comics and comic-related stuff, then you need to make your plans to attend Daytona Beach Comic Con. This year's show is September 9th and 10th. Silverline will be there, so you should make your plans to be there too. We'll see you there. If you like comics and find yourself in the Orlando, Florida area, doesn't everyone come to Orlando at some point in time to see the House of Mouse? But when you're here, you need to make it a point to visit Coliseum of Comics, especially the one on East Colonial Drive. They carry Silverline comics, even a limited edition Coliseum of Comics version of our comics. So, when you go, be sure to ask for Silverline Comics and tell them we sent you. OCD stands for Orlando Collector Deviants. OCD, Steve and Trish, they're a family of geeks who promote geek things, particularly those around the Orlando, Florida area. They're big supporters of Silverline, and we think you should be supporters of theirs too. Go give them some love. If you are an independent comic book maker and you need to get your independent comics made, you need to look no further than Kablam! Kablam Digital Printing. They print our books, and they do a bang-up job. They're not only trusted by Silverline, but many, many independent comic book makers. Head on over to Kablam.com and see for yourself just how easy it is to have your comic printed by them. And tell them Silverline sent you.
Hi, this is Tim TK, host of That Silverline Show on Tuesday. Join us at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific every Tuesday night as we discuss pop culture and the joys of making comics.
Hi, I'm Barb Kilber, co-host of Silverline's Wednesday Wham. Join us each Wednesday night as we discuss comics, literature, movies, and anything else that may catch our attention.
I'm Roland Mann, and I host Silverline's Silver Sunday. Join me every Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern as we make mine Silverline.
Hola, everybody.
Hello.
We made it.
Hello.
We made it. Tonight, my name is Barb Kelberg, and I'm your hostess for the evening. And with me is Martin Mertonen, my co-host. If you don't know who I am.
Hello.
If you don't know who I am the creator of Divinity. I ink Cat and Mouse. I am the CFO of Silverline Comics, an all-around empress of inks.
Yeah.
Martin is a fantastic colorist who works on, Wolf Hunter. And are you working on anything else at the moment?
I'm working on Wolf Hunter too. So
Okay.
slow going, but it's coming. So just
Okay.
put up another page last night. So yeah, it's coming.
And our special guest this evening is the legendary Bill and Linda Reinhold. Bill has been around for a long time.
That means we're old. That's what you're saying.
Yes,
We're
well,
old.
so am I. So,
Nah.
and Linda is one of the great colorists that I know, and she's also a lovely, lovely person.
That's for sure.
That's for sure. These are some of my my best friends. I love these two dearly. They live about an hour south of me, so we end up at a lot of shows together.
Yeah, we should meet up some other time.
Yeah, when we're not doing shows.
Yeah. Who knows?
Before we get started this evening, I want to remind everybody that, hang on here.
Those kids are birds.
That's me. I have a window open. So
Okay.
I want to remind everybody
Nice.
that we have a crowdfunder going. And those are kids in Martin's background.
Yes, I can hear
yes.
them now. I like kids, so it's okay.
Yeah.
All right. No.
Can't mute them from far away.
We have a crowdfunder going right now for the Silverline team up featuring the champion and Ms. Fury, and with a surprise guest star of the Demon from the Cat and Mouse comic books. We have 20 days left to go. We are at 89% of our goal. So if you want to hop on,
hear anything.
if you want to hop on after the stream, we would very much appreciate it. And you guys can just take out your earphones altogether if you want. It's not going to be a big deal.
Can you tell her?
Well, we might have to because
Okay,
Linda says you can't hear anything.
I really can't hear
I don't know
anything.
what this deal is. So take yours off and see how it goes. And so I'm going to unplug it. So
There we go.
Check, check.
Oh, yeah, I can hear everything now.
are we echoey? Are we echoey?
No, we're not hearing any echo.
You're-
Nope, no echo. We're good.
Excellent. Okay.
Wonderful.
It is so good to see you guys again.
Yeah, you too.
You too. It's been so many years. I can't even remember how long we've known you. My gosh.
I know. We're well, you're just over the border in Illinois, but
You
yeah.
were like 12. We met you, I think.
Thanks. We are going to show some of you guys' work, and then you can tell us a little bit about it. First of all, before we get to that, Linda,
Yes.
tell us how you got to where you are now.
Oh, how many days do we have? I fell into comics. I didn't plan on being in comics. I was in advertising. I have a fine arts degree from Stevens College. It was either
Missouri, is it?
Sorry?
Stevens College is in
Columbia, Missouri.
Missouri, yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
Rob Davis country.
Well, it happened that, long story, but I moved to New York looking for a job. My mother was a traveling agent for Estee Lauder, and their headquarters being in New York, my mother came a few times a year and took me out to lunch with her and some of the Lauder people, and one of them said, "Aunt Linda, what are you doing?" And I said, well, I'm between jobs at the moment, and instantly they put me to work at a cosmetics counter in B. Altman, which was what Mrs. Maisel did. I didn't like working for Lauder. Working with the public is hard. And I had everybody I knew looking for a job for me. One of my friends, who worked, I think, for Borghese, took me out to lunch with a friend of the older man she was dating. And he said, well, listen, I have some ideas. He gave me a list of about 7 people in advertising and publishing and said, here, try these numbers. Maybe you can get a job. And about 7 down the list was Stan Lee. Try calling Marvel and saying, hey, can I talk to Stan Lee? Well, I did get an appointment, and I arrived there with my giant portfolio at the same time as Stan's daughter, JC, whom we called Joni in those days. She rode up the elevator with me and announced to the room, can't we get this poor girl a job? And people I met with really liked my work, and I was hired on the spot. So
keep in mind, Linda had no idea who Stan Lee was,
No.
or anything like that.
No,
or
I had
anything
seen-
much
I
about
think-
Marvel Comics whatsoever.
Sounds familiar for me in several instances.
Yeah, it was funny, but I loved the offices, artwork everywhere, nice people, music playing. It was my kind of place, and I was so lucky to get a job, and I started right away in the production office. Marie Severin sat next to me. She moved me on not long after that into coloring, which I kind of phased into. I did a lot of work at the office. I did work at home, and absolutely loved the job. So that was it. So ever since then, when I came home from New York, I was lucky to get a job at First Comics.
Wait, you skipped the whole part.
The whole part about.
There's this person that you were partners
Oh, well,
with.
okay.
Weren't you at the studio for a while?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you
So
were
I met Barry Windsor Smith at Marvel Comics and fell hopelessly in love. And strange but true, he asked me to partner up with him to start the Gore Blimey Press, which was publishing his work. And so he did the art, and I pretty much did everything else, dealt with the printers, and did all kinds of drawing and production and
some coloring.
Lots and lots of coloring. We had the business for 10 years, and in time, it was time for me to go, and I did that. And when I got home, yeah, this is what happened. One of my dearest friends in the world got married in Texas, and her husband's best man was a friend of Mike Gold's.
I remember Mike Gold.
And he asked me, well, what are you doing?
One of the
And I said,
creators
well,
of First Comics. And also the Chicago Con.
yeah. I mean, I didn't know, but
The original Chicago Con.
I called up First Comics, and strange but true, the fellow who, Alex Wold, who interviewed me had actually been a fan of mine. And when I came to work for them, I got the job of lettering this book called Badger that Bill was drawing. And pretty soon I became his colorist, and we became friends. So actually we knew each other almost 2 years before we started dating.
As I always say, I had to wait through 2 boyfriends
There you go.
before it was my turn.
So we did a lot of, I was his helper, inker,
Oh, yeah, well,
inking assistant,
later
did backgrounds.
after we got married, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, yeah. We
Yeah.
got married. We have two
Then-
grown-up kiddos.
She'd be
Leanna and
she'd be
Michael.
coloring my stuff, but then also assisting me with inking my work.
Yeah. But Dick used to fill in my blacks for me, the big black areas.
Yeah, well, what the main thing Linda did is, of course, black areas. I could designate those. Inking my own stuff. This is, and she would also do. No, actually, this is wrong. Actually, with my stuff, it was mostly filling in blacks and cleaning
Yeah.
up stuff. It was only when I'm jumping ahead here, but
Lining.
it's only when I inked other people where there's finished pencils that Linda would do. Like if there were a lot of
Straight
buildings,
lines,
she'd do
bushes.
straight lines, like the main straight lines of a building, and then I would go in there and add extra weights and embellish it and everything else. But she would just get it started for me. When there's like a million buildings,
That's
just
fun.
to you get
Oh,
like
yeah.
a bunch of the windows outlined, this and that, whatever, the stuff that's tedious,
Yes.
and then I can just go in there with a brush or a pen, and freehand everything after that.
All right, Bill.
Yeah.
How'd you get yourself into this mess?
Well, as a kid, I loved drawing, and it was even like when I was in like 8th grade, I met a couple guys that were drawing their own comic stories, like on notebook paper or whatever they had, and I was like, wow, you're drawing your own stories. I was just couldn't believe it, and so I tried doing it too, and so I drew like a little Spiderman story. I made up some of my own characters and stuff, and so as I got into high school, it kind of faded, and I became a drummer, and my whole emphasis was music and being in bands and stuff. So, but one day I just basically almost had an epiphany, like, okay, music isn't going to be for me, even though things were going pretty good, and I was a pretty good drummer, but I just thought it's not going to be my career. So I stopped, and soon after I went back to art, And then I started like drawing and painting and things on my own. And I thought I got to go to school because I'm the kind of person I need somebody like giving me a deadline, do this, do that, whatever, get that project done, to make me work hard. So I went to the American Academy of Art in Chicago, which is basically a commercial art illustration school. A lot of emphasis on classic illustration. Andrew Loomis is like the god at that school. So I went there for 3 years and learned a ton. And during that time, I actually started working in comics. First thing I did a story for Scary Tales at Charlton Comics, which wasn't my first thing published. It was the first thing I ever drew to be published. But then while I was in school, I met Mike Gustovich, who was just putting together Noble Comics and publishing Justice Machine. He was at the Chicago Con, and I went there with my portfolio. My portfolio was this like 10 to 12 page science fiction story I drew for Charlton Comics. And I just carried that around and showed people. And I met Jim Shooter because back in the days, Barb, you could just walk up to an editor or whoever and just say, hey, can I show you my stuff?
Sit down behind the booth and go through your stuff.
Yeah. You didn't have to stand in some line and whatever. You don't even know who the heck you're talking to. Anyway, so I showed him the stuff and he goes, it looks like you're more for like heavy metal, because he's looking at this science fiction story I drew, and it's not superheroes or anything like that. And whatever, I thought I was dejected, walked away. But then I was walking down the aisles, and there was Mike Gustovich sitting there with a little table with his Justice Machine #1. And I started talking to him. And I thought, wow, he's publishing his own superhero comic, which I guess his comic was the first superhero team book ever self-published, if I remember right. So I showed him my portfolio. He liked it, and he first wanted me to ink him because I was penciling and inking my own work always. But then he changed his mind. Says, no, I think I'd rather you pencil and I'll ink you. So that's how I started drawing the Justice Machine in 1981 to 82, and then it took off from there. Should I keep going?
Yeah.
Okay, so the next big break was that thing was ending, and we were at this thing called Chicago Con used to do this show. It was every 6 weeks at a hotel downtown Chicago, and they would let artists who were published or whatever sit at a couple tables or whatever. And I was there, and Mike Barron was there, and he was pushing Nexus and Badger at Capitol Comics. And he said he saw my work, and at that time Jeff D was inking me. Jeff D is well known in gaming, the Villains of Vigilantes and stuff like that. So he said, hey, could you guys do a couple fill-in issues? And we were just finishing this work on Justice Machine, and we said sure. But then by the time we got going, they said that the regular artist was quitting, and they asked if we just stay on. So then I was doing Badger from issue 5 up until the rest. That's when I met Linda, working on the Badger.
Yeah.
And we worked on that for many years.
Hang on, I'm getting this set up. Go ahead. And when did you? And you're one of the best things you're known for is Punisher, isn't it?
Yes, and that's because of Mike Barron too. Because Mike Barron was, while we were doing the Badger, he started working at Marvel, doing the Punisher, and we basically were coming to the end of what we were doing in Badger. We finished our monthly run, monthly books, and then I did a graphic novel called Hexbreaker of the Badger, and he said, hey, how would you like to draw the Punisher? And I became a big fan of the Punisher, mostly because Klaus Janson drew the first 4 or 5 issues of the series. And so I was all into it. And so, yeah, so that just moved right from there to Marvel. And this is all really through Mike. I mean, most of the jobs I've ever gotten in comics were really because of artists or writers suggesting me for something. It wasn't editors calling me up, hey, you want to do this or whatever, occasionally, but mostly it was just, knowing other people who wanted to work with me.
Yep, I just saw Mike last weekend, actually.
This Badger piece is on our wall, the original black and white, and the color also, which is a blue line painting that Linda did. Before we were married, we each gave that to each other as a gift. She gave me the coloring, and I gave her the black and white.
They're both on the wall.
But then we got married, and then we both have them. So
yes, this is one of my favorites.
me too.
I'm trying to get this to work
Sorry.
right.
We got a Barbie right below that. Then back to Linda.
You guys ended up keeping it in the family, eh?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm trying to get this to come up right. There we go.
A quick question.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, while you were working on Badger, did you work on any other projects at the same time, or were you just working specifically on
that
one
was
book?
really took up all my time. It was a monthly book, but they gave me a fill-in issue like every 6 issues, I think. So I got more than a month to do each one. At first, I was just penciling it, and then I switched to penciling and inking it. So it really took up all my time. I really couldn't do more than the only time I've ever done more than one thing at a time is when I was inking other people. But not if I'm on my own project. No, there's no time to do anything else.
So you were penciling and inking Badger.
Yeah, eventually, yes, that's how I finished it up.
Yeah, not this past weekend, but the weekend before, Mike was at a show here in Madison with me.
Yeah.
So I got to see him for the first time in like a year. So Pops from the Madness Network, he runs the Madness Network, wants you guys to be on a show with Mike and him.
Okay.
So
we were on Mike's podcast one time. I can't remember the name of that right now, but we were on his once.
Yeah, you'll have to get a hold of him. I was going to go on to the next one.
If you know him, you could pass on my info if you like. I don't know.
I will. I certainly will. And here is yes.
I had so much fun with that.
Well, I spent many years on Barbie.
Yes, we have one. Leanna has one of her pages.
One of your pages is on the wall, framed.
So
really,
our daughter, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness!
I should send a copy to you.
I am honored. Thank you very much. Now, explain to our audience what you did before digital coloring.
I don't do digital coloring.
No,
before digital.
What did you do before?
Regular comic book coloring that you can't explain to people.
I got examples.
Oh, here's a great example.
Here. Why don't you talk about
Prowler?
Those darn codes.
Yes.
Every color had a code. These were separated by hand, not by photography, for many, many, many years. And each color, like red was R and yellow was Y. And we were able to use 25, 50, and 100% colors. And it's very hard to describe how these people work, but essentially they would take a page, put a piece of acetate over it, and if their job was to do, let's say B2, the lightest blue here, they found every piece of that color and put the photo opaque paint there, and that's how it went. And every color that was used has a separate page. And then at the end, they put all of the blues together, all of the yellows, all of the magentas, and somehow married it up to make the plates. Most people have closed their eyes and fallen over by now.
Did you use Doc Martens or watercolors?
Absolutely, everybody did.
Especially for when she was doing the working with the codes, she used Doc Martens because it's completely transparent. So when you go over
Yeah.
that or Xerox or something, it doesn't cover it up.
Yeah.
As opposed to when she did the next way of working, which is Blue Line.
I used everything.
There she used sometimes the Dr. Martin's watercolors, gouache.
Sometimes Winsor Newton. Sometimes gouache. Yeah.
Anything you can get your hands on.
I could do anything at that time. This is a Blue Line.
Up close.
There you go. It's hard to see.
I'll hold it.
All right.
This is from the Badger, and it's sort of the original is sort of like an animation cell. Let me peel it up here. So the original.
Well, the black
painting.
Yep. And see, I've done it that way before. You know who taught me how to do that? Les Dorscheid.
Oh, of course, he was.
Wow.
Yeah, he was. He colored the Nexus at First Comics, and he uses very kind of opaque colors lots of times, but it was really nice. Very.
He lived a block away from me. I just used to walk down to his place. Had to get past his white German Shepherd, but
he's a good painter too.
Oh yeah, he's wonderful. We are going to show one of Bill's now. Tell us about this.
Well, okay, before I actually had anything published at Marvel, not of the Punisher, I had a short story published before that, but so I was working on the Punisher. The first thing I ever did was a graphic novel called Intruder, and so that was a long story and large art and everything else, and so it was taking quite a while to do it. And while I was doing it, from Marvel Fanfare, oh gosh, what's his name? The
book.
Your old friend. Anyways, Marvel Fanfare, they asked me to do a pinup section, and for that they said you can do whatever any characters you want. So I picked the Punisher, the Hulk, Thor, Black Panther, I think something else. Anyways, so this was one of the pieces. Linda colored it. This is
colored all of them.
This is the old school coloring again. Although this is when they started moving up, I think, using computer artists, but you would do the coloring and then they'd pass it on to the people, but to do the so-called separations. Anyways, so yeah, so that's what that was. It was sort of a preview of the novel I was doing. And yeah. In fact, the Iron Man one right next to that, if you click that, from the same pinup section. That's one of our best-selling prints.
Yeah.
I can see why. It's lovely.
Well, Linda has a good story about that.
Well, the story was I looked at the computer one morning and somebody had posted that Robert Downey Jr. had put that up on his Facebook page and declared that it was his favorite version of Iron Man. So not
my artwork necessarily, but the classic version.
Well, I got all excited. I said, Bill.
Yeah, get like a zillion.
We should sell prints of this.
Likes and stuff, yeah.
So that's how we got into selling prints of various, many things that Bill has done over the years. So that's part of our business.
Yeah, I'm flipping back and forth here so I can give you guys equal.
Did you have to get permissions from Marvel to sell the prints?
Okay,
no.
I'll tell you about that. The first time I ever saw anybody selling prints at a convention, and maybe you remember this too, Barb. People, the first time they ever did, they would print because nobody had large format printers at home. They just had their little printers, and so they would make 8.5 by 11 prints of their artwork and sell them for $5 or something. And generally, all the prints I sell, in general, most of them, like 90% of them or more, are things that were commissions I did for people, and I made it into a print. And so I'm looking around. I remember I was at a convention one time, and there was a colorist from Marvel, and he was making these really nice prints of a cover he did for Marvel. I'm like, wait a minute, how can you get away with that? You know? And I'm seeing people doing it left and right all over the place. Okay, I give up. I'm going to do it too. So, I mean, it is really, even if you did a commission, like an original drawing of a character that was never in print, you know, Marvel could crack down, or Disney, or whoever.
They'd have to do that on every single artist out there, though.
Exactly, and
they would go broke.
I've heard stories of them cracking down on some large scale people of doing it who were selling so much stuff. But yes, they would. So once I knew it was up in the air, I do it. So sometimes I'll do things that were like special things like this, or maybe the printout will be the black and white of the cover I did, without any of not the logo, none of the coloring, just my original ink drawing. So it's in that way it's unique, you know. But yeah. So yeah.
I should mention that way back.
That's a commission.
Way back when I lived in New York, Barry Windsor Smith started doing prints, and these were all large, done at a proper printer. Some of them were in Chicago. And the first one we did was the Barbarian. It wasn't Conan's outfit.
Because Barry Windsor Smith was famous for drawing, Barry Smith is famous for drawing Conan the Barbarian.
And so, of course, as soon as we started selling this, we got a nasty letter from some attorney from Marvel threatening all kinds of things. Even though it wasn't called Conan, it didn't have his signature outfit on, you know, and we protested saying, you mean he can't draw just a plain old barbarian?
It's only because Barry Windsor Smith, his version of Conan was
very popular.
It was so iconic that him just drawing a guy with a sword with long hair right away looks like Conan the Barbarian. There's like nothing you can do about it.
Nothing happened. I mean, essentially nothing.
This black and white piece is just gorgeous.
It's very popular.
Thank you.
Yeah, I bet it is. And Lady Death, another gorgeous piece.
Yeah,
was this a commission?
Yes, that was a commission for some people in France. So was the Galactus. That's basically how I work all the time now. I just draw basically sort of contour ink line on everything. And then everything else is black gouache. All the blacks are gouache. All the washes are gouache. And yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Thanks.
We're going to skip back here.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, to another Linda Bill collaboration.
Oh, no.
It's not.
No, that's
not.
Way
no, this is. This is Linda only.
Yes, that's before my time.
Splash page from the old days.
Can you see what year that is at the bottom?
It's a Rich Buckler.
I was
1974.
Okay, that was a year after I graduated high school.
Oh.
I was doing many
Linda
covers.
robbed the cradle.
I was doing a lot of covers in those days, but there was no way of determining if I had done this book's cover or not, because I didn't sign it. I didn't know if any records were kept, but I knew I had drawn the book and I really liked the splash page. So this too was made into a print, and we sold a lot of those as well. What's
unique about Linda's work back then is this example doesn't show it necessarily, but the highlights around the thing, the yellow, and she would use a lot of white highlights,
rim lights.
Use actual white as an element as opposed to
it wasn't coloring. Really done in those days.
Yeah.
To leave a background white or leave an outfit white, people just colored everywhere, and I started using highlights and shading. That wasn't done very much in those days. So I've actually had a number of people talk to me over the years about the new things that I had done that people liked. And you know, it's so funny. My girlfriends laugh that people still want my autograph for some of the work I did 40, 50 years ago.
Kevin Nolan, who we met for the first time a few years ago, he started doing shows. Famous comic artist, and he met Linda, and he said he had been a fan of hers when he was young, because of the way she colored.
I can see why. I think you were groundbreaking in many ways.
Thank you.
That's that. Okay, just because I can see you at the bottom, could you jump to that Spider-Man, the one? It's like a splashy piece. It's next to the Iron Man.
Next to the Iron. Oh, you want to do that? Oh, that one.
Yeah, see the white highlights she has on there?
Oh, yeah.
That was very unusual back then.
It
seems like normal, you would think, but just to use that to make things.
Now they everybody wants rim lights.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
So-
You started a fad.
rim light on every muscle.
Yeah.
So out of curiosity, how did you come up with that? Was it just a happy accident, or?
No. At that time, I would have to say Barry Windsor Smith kind of guided me in that direction, because that's what he used to do. He did a lot of highlights and shadows, way more than I dared to do. But I kind of introduced it into mainstream comics, and I hope that I'm not wrong to say that.
Well, it is typical of his work.
Oh,
but
yeah.
Linda is a painter too, so
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Okay, so the highlight you would do it just by erasing the color there, or would you put in white highlight?
Oh, he's
like
thinking
ink?
about the process. Yeah,
Huh.
you basically have to outline that area. Am I correct?
Oh, yes.
I'm pointing at the screen. Sorry.
Right.
Yes.
I would have to show that when the coloring was, indicate that with the line instead of indicating a color. I'd draw a line, because there wasn't a line there, but I would draw one to show them where I wanted the color to
Don't they
go
call
to.
that? Don't they call that key lining?
Yeah, I guess.
Redlining? Wasn't it like redlining?
Well, it is like
Key lining.
redlining. It is like redlining. That's another thing that became common in comics before digital, where you
Yes.
do effects and things. Yes.
I did some
okay,
red lines. Yeah.
So that's how you would do the white. How would you do the shade? Same idea?
Well, okay. Basically, what she's taking, like her Dr. Martin Dyes watercolors,
Yeah.
to a photocopy of this piece.
Yeah.
She'll color it, you might say, like it is right there. But
Right.
then to designate everything for the separators, people
Yeah.
make the screens and everything. She
Right,
would have
they
to do
needed to
those.
know.
She has to put those codes on there for all the
Yeah,
colors.
yeah.
Right.
So she'll have to outline those highlights that she wants.
Right.
So everything has to be pointed to and designated as it is,
Right. So yeah, so I'm just trying to figure out how you guys designated the shadows or the shading. With the same
Well,
process?
I'm looking here. I mean, of
When
course.
I did shadows.
I mean, this doesn't have a lot of. If you don't mind me jumping in
No,
here,
go ahead.
this doesn't have a lot of shadows per se on it, except what's in the inking.
Right.
But otherwise, the colors are sort of flat colors. Like the blue all on Spider-Man is one flat
Yeah.
color, except for where the highlights are cut out.
Right.
The white, or maybe you're seeing like on his boot per se, that it's red, but then there's a gray kind of in the center of
Well,
it.
you had to know how the colors were put together. If you
Ah.
wanted to put a darker blue onto an already dark blue, you added like 25% red or R2.
Okay, so that's so you would shade with a darker color.
You just drew the line and you added what you wanted,
Okay.
because there was no line there. I mean, they originally didn't even, Xeroxes weren't invented when I started
Right.
coloring. They used photocopies. Photostats,
Yeah.
yeah. And they were very hard to color. Colors were, the Dr. Martin's dyes would just bead up on the surface. So basically, I had to take the pages home and dump them into a bathtub full of water and scrub that chemical off, and then hang them
before
up
she
in
colored it. Before she
clothespins
colored it.
before I colored the pages. because it just was hard to work with. And everybody cheered when a Xerox machine appeared, and it was so much easier to use regular paper.
The magic Xerox machine.
So,
Wow.
This is a collaboration.
Hey, this is one of our favorite projects we ever did.
yeah, I loved it.
Wait a second.
It is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Well, it's a book that the cover I did all by myself. The painting, Linda modeled for the character Shalabal, who's up in the sky there with Moondragon. Shalabal was the love of his life of Silver Surfer. He had to leave her behind on his home world and everything else. And this is all about them meeting up again. It is written by Jim Starlin. And so I penciled and inked it, and Linda did the here's a couple pages in the book. Linda did the coloring, the blue line coloring for this, like I showed before, the sort of the animation cell type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And Linda modeled for all the Shalabal scenes. Well, actually, Moondragon too. She modeled for all the female characters in the story, even though I might change them up. I'm trying to find. Wait, I have something I can show you. Okay, here is the kissing scene.
Ooh, and how did you research that?
Yeah. Well, here's the funny about that. I actually hired a guy, a friend of mine, who was an actor, and sometimes model, to be the Silver Surfer. So I took a lot of photographs of him, and but I said, you're not going to be able to do the kissing scene with Linda, though. so Linda and we posed for that. It's two people kissing is not easy to draw out of your head at all.
It's not.
So I needed reference for that.
And it took a lot of practice, I bet.
Yes, of course. So photographs were taken of us doing that. Here's another page from the Silver Surfer.
Oh my!
Oh wow!
Oh my! That is amazing.
How many days did it take you to do that one?
The whole story, which was, gosh, I'm trying to remember how long it was.
It's so long ago.
It was either 45 or 60 pages. I don't know. It took me like 7 months or something to draw the whole thing, which sounds really fast to me now. But a page like that, that is so detailed. I don't know, days. That's all I could say. Days for sure. I mean, I could spend even longer than that. Quite a while. And then the Punisher novel, Linda again.
I started out, my daughter was all of, I think, 4 months old at the time.
I did the cover by myself. Linda colored all of the interior. I don't have an example of that, but yeah, I really like doing these projects because they were the large format printing, a graphic novel. Like, well, of course, up in Canada, I'm sure you see a lot of graphic novels from France, right?
Probably more so than in the States, yes.
Well, when I went to Quebec, I went to this place called Fnac.
Yep.
Bookstore. And they literally had a whole section as big as what we think of like the children's section in a large bookstore like Barnes and Noble or something here. And it was all graphic novels. I mean, stacked up on tables, on the shelves, because graphic novels were not just one-offs. They were a series. You might have, 12 books or something telling a story. And I'd always seen graphic novels coming up, going to conventions in Chicago, because there would, especially at ChicagoCon, there was this one dealer who would bring all the graphic novels he could from Europe. He was from Europe, and he would sell them. And of course, they weren't in English, but fantastic art. anyway, so I was just blown away by all these things and how much they do that. So Marvel doing that, I thought was great, and I'm very happy to see. And I didn't know anything about this till we did an appearance for Free Comic Book Day recently. That Marvel is now doing a series of large formats pieces like that. Again, they're soft covers, but they're that same kind of a size as a graphic novel traditionally is. So they've gone back to it, so which is very nice, because I always felt like the United States was missing out not doing that. But they say some people who collect comic books don't want anything larger; it doesn't fit in a comic box. You know.
Oh, I love graphic novels. I'm trying to pare down my floppies because I ended up having copies of floppies and copies of the same graphic novel as the floppies. And I'm like, why am I double dipping myself here?
Yeah.
This is interesting.
That's
Magnus.
Yeah, that's Magnus Robot Fighter. I did a few issues at not at Valiant, which a lot of people think it was at Dark Horse. So yeah, that was the cover to issue number 1.
Again, we see the gouache look on this, which
although I will say is really just full black ink, ink line and brush, and then the wash is put on top of that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I seem that I have noticed that over the years you've been steering more and more towards the 3-tone, where the white, black, gray, and away from more like this.
Yeah, one of the reasons is now they can print it.
Yes.
At the time, there would have to be maybe some special thing they would do for a cover or something, but now anything can be printed from grayscale. In fact, a lot of the inking I did at Marvel and DC, even though it was sometimes only in black and white, I scanned it as grayscale, not as line art. Meaning, for people who don't know, if you scan as line art, it's high contrast black and white. So a lot of small lines will fall out. There's no way you could ever do a lot of dry brush or washes or whatever. It would all fall out. But when you scan as grayscale, it looks basically like the original art. I mean, you could change the contrast, but it looks like, like people when they see original art, they go, "Oh, wow, this original art looks so cool," compared to the stuff in print. Well, now you can make it look exactly like that. Whatever the original art looks like, it can print just like that. If it's in black and white, of course. But so I can, once that was available to me, I stopped scanning as line art and just as grayscale. And the colorists would make use of it. And I started using washes, which the colorists would translate into colors, which is not too hard to do. I've done it a lot myself, and so it was just a great benefit, just something that became available that I took advantage of.
Now, what is this from?
That's a Legends of the Dark Knight story. I did 2 issues with Mike Baron. Mike Baron wrote these 2 stories of Batman.
Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah.
So I'm learning something new as well.
I actually drew it in the late 90s, but it didn't get published till 2002, I think.
No, did you pencil and ink this, or?
Yes.
Okay.
The covers and the story.
All right. Is it okay if I ask who some of your inking influences are? Because I've been jumping around looking at your stuff all over the place here, and I'm noticing that there's you change your style up quite a bit over time.
Yeah,
So,
I definitely fool around. You want to make any guesses who my influences are?
Okay, let me see. So I think earlier on, maybe you have some influences by. I'm gonna go out on a limb. Maybe some Dick Giordano kind of stuff. Neil Adams-ish. The earlier stuff.
Yeah, I wouldn't say. I mean, actually, to tell you the truth, I mean, if you say Dick Giordano, he has a lot of influences besides Neil Adams, but
Yeah.
For me, if I was going to pick that, I'd think of Neil Adams first.
Okay.
Okay, I'll tell you who my influences are. Okay, so early on in American comics, my influences were like Klaus Janson, Al Williamson.
Yeah.
Al Williamson, yeah, it's a good one.
I
can definitely see Al Williamson in some of your earlier works.
And then as time went on, actually my first mainstream influence was Joe Rubenstein. He was the first guy who I could look at inking, and it was like he made it easy to understand. Some people, their stuff was, you might say, almost too organic for you to understand what the heck was going on. But Joe was like, he had this style that was very strong, and there was sort of almost a formula to it you could pick up. So I would use some of that. But anyways, as time went on, I got into a lot of European illustrators, not so much inkers, but just artists. So like who am I trying to think of now?
This looks a little European.
Well, going way out there would be Jose Munoz. I love his stuff.
Okay, right. Yep.
And anybody that's very loose, I like a lot. And
Bill Sienkiewicz and you have a lot in common.
Victor De La Fuente, who is from South America, I think, if I remember right. He's an amazing artist. He has some things in common with Al Williamson. And then let's see who else. Jordi Bernay became a big influence on me at one time when I was drawing the Badger. He changed the way I did the energy around a gun firing. It's a simple thing, but just the way he did it was different than I ever seen any American artist do it. So yeah, there's so many others, but yeah, European art probably had the biggest influence in me at some point, and still to this day. Oh, I should say Joe Kubert, also huge influence. See, there's some people who are influences on me about how I draw, and then some people are influencing me about how they do their inks, how they do their finishes. So I'm not so influenced necessarily by Joe Kubert by how he draws, but the way he inks. Or Gil Kane is a huge influence on how I draw superheroes, but not necessarily the way he inks his own work or other people ink him. Oh, okay. I have to bring up the biggest one, Frank Robbins. That's became later my probably my biggest influence. In fact, I promote, it's at the top of my Twitter page, a link to a huge, like over 1,000 pieces of Frank Robbins stuff that I've gathered from the internet to share with people, because I think his stuff is so awesome. But he's mostly known for drawing Hazard, a newspaper strip, but he also drew Batman and some other stuff at DC with just amazing work when he pencils and inks his own work. The stuff he did at Marvel Comics, other people inked him, not as impressive, but still nice.
Tell us about this piece here.
Okay, this is for the project I'm doing now that I've been working on for way too long.
For several years now.
Yes, it is. So it's 134 pages, and it's a World War II graphic novel written by Carl Potts called The Flying Column, and it's all about a rescue mission into Manila to rescue mostly Americans and other people out of this internment camp at the Japanese turned the University of Tomas into an internment camp. So it's a rescue mission to get the people out. Some of this is influenced by Carl's own family and their experience.
I saved this for last because I knew that this is what you were currently working on. Are you working on any other projects around this?
Can I show you some of that?
You betcha.
Okay, here's a. See, there I'm doing the washes I was talking about. It's just like
phenomenal.
I used that pen that I learned from, because I was looking for a pen, and I was looking at all this European art, and I could tell they were all using something that was like a fountain pen or something to outline everything, and I just didn't know what they were using, so I kept asking around about different things. Then I found out that Joe Kubert was using this pen. I learned this from his son Adam Kubert, who I inked. He was using this pen called Hunt 513 EF, and the pen, unlike other crow quills, the point of it is kind of roundish, so you could slide around on the page with it. It's very natural. You could write a letter with it, you know. So it's a pen I always recommend to artists who are scared of crow quills. So that's on the outline of everything. That's what that dead weight line is on everything, and then the rest is the gouache.
Stunning, just stunning.
So that's
Now,
what takes all my time these days.
Yeah, you've been working on this project for how long now?
Yes, that long.
Yeah, that's what I thought. And do you do anything besides shows? Do you do anything around the World War II project?
Around? What do you mean around?
Like in addition to?
Oh, I mean, any other work you mean?
Mm-hmm.
No, not really. I mean, I have a pile of commissions that I need to get to one of these days. I pick at them once in a while, but no. As far as doing other art projects, that's about it. I did a pinup for some small publisher one time, something else, but no, I have to keep
You say that's 130 pages. How many pages are you in now?
I penciled the whole thing. Laid the whole thing out, penciled the whole thing, rough pencils, and I'm about halfway through the finishes. Close to that.
Cool. That's going to be on my pull list as soon as it comes out, because I love your work on it.
I'll be screaming it from the rooftops when it's done.
I'm sure you will. Anything, Martin?
In what sense? Well, I was just going to go back to the your Batman there. Would you say that you have some more modern influences as well, such as Mark Schultz, or maybe?
I wouldn't say Mark Schultz, but modern Batman stuff. Okay, well, my favorite Batman artists are probably, it's not modern.
Kevin Nolan.
Okay, yeah, Kevin Nolan's awesome. He did influence me a little bit when I did I don't want to have it to show you, but I did a Batman piece one time when I was first looking for work to do Batman. I had done a couple pinup like things, some sketches, and I showed them to Archie Goodwin. And I said, I'd love to draw, because I was starting to do inking work at DC. And so I said, I'd love to draw, a Batman story. And one of the pieces actually was a little Kevin Nolan influenced by the way Kevin drew a cape and stuff. Kevin's interesting. A lot of stuff that people are influenced by, and him is influenced from other people. Like he has a lot of Bernie Wrightson in his stuff. Like the way he famously draws a mouth. Kevin draws a mouth a certain way, the way the shadows are and everything. That's Bernie Wrightson. So it's like you can look back at artists who came later, and if you it's interesting if you go up to them and go, who are your influences? Or you find out who their influences are, and you can learn a lot about them and where it came from.
Very cool.
Yep, very, very cool. Well, we have we could sit here and talk for another 2 hours, because you guys are just a font of knowledge. I could mine the data that in your brains for ages, but it's much more fun to meet up with you guys in a show pretty soon.
Well, it's certainly nice to see you, Barb.
I know. We need to get together more often.
Did you notice our background?
Yeah, all the pictures back there?
That's just our setup from our shows.
Oh.
Our banners back there.
Are you guys going to do the new expo in Madison?
We've been to Madison. We've done a few least 3 or 4.
No, shoot. Well, I don't know what this expo one is.
There's
but,
a new
I've
Madison
actually,
Expo.
because of this project I'm doing, I've really cut back on shows. We
we
did
used to do-
C2E2.
We used to do 2 a month.
We did Free
Yeah.
Comic Book Day.
We do
in
one a
Indiana.
month.
So it's like, but otherwise not much.
Yeah, we've got too much going on. We tend to do only one a month. But the Madison Expo is a new expo at the big Alliance Energy Center in September, and I was hoping to see you guys.
Oh, it's in September?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's something to think about then.
Yeah. I'll have to get a hold of them and say that they should ask you guys. Since I network just like Pops. All right. Well, we're going to wrap this up, and I can't thank you guys enough for being on the show. I'm going to have you guys back because we just barely scratched the surface.
Mm-hmm.
I'd love seeing you, Barbara. We could chat away.
I know
You
we
could
could.
do a whole show just with Linda, easy. But yeah, if you guys are ever interested in us being involved in anything else, or you have a topic you're doing or something with other artists or whatever, feel free.
Oh yeah. Trust me, we'll probably absolutely tap you.
All right.
Okay, we're gonna wrap this up, and let me find the closeout. Where is this closeout? Oh,
Good night,
there it
Martin.
is.
Good night, Barbara.
All right.
Nice meeting you, Martin.
As we like to say at the hang around for a little bit after this is over.
Sure.
As we like to say at the closeout of every stream, make mine Silverline.
Hi, I'm Chris Olm. I'm the former editor-in-chief of Malibu Comics. Make mine Silverline.